We're always messed up. All right. Hey everyone, it's your girl Nicole Marie back with my podcast. For the record, I took like a year and a half hiatus working on music, but I'm back here with season two, episode one called Highs and Lows episode with a very special guest, Original Soul. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for having me.
how have you been?
Um, Coming along, everything's going as it's intended. So we're going full force.
Good, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna just get right into it. The first question I have a few questions that I want to ask you today, but one of the questions I want to start off with is what made you fall in love with music?
Oh man, I love telling this story. So let's go back to 1987. Yeah, I'm an old head.
Okay.
Sixth grade, we're in music class, right?
Mhm.
And our normal teacher wasn't in class that day, so we had a substitute. And the class took it upon themselves. They wanted to do name that tune.
Mhm.
And me at the time, I was not one to really listen to the radio or anything like that. And so when it came my time to try to guess the tune, I couldn't guess the tune.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I kind of felt bad about that because I'm like, okay, all of my peers are listening to music. Why am I not listening to music? So let
Yeah.
me start getting really into it. 'Cause I really hadn't listened to music since like at that time hadn't listened to music since like Michael Jackson's Thriller
Mhm.
and various other albums that were in the house. So I only listened to what was in the house. And so, like I said, when it came out my turn, I couldn't guess the song, and I guess my peers were looking at me like, "Okay, I guess you're not into music like we thought you would be." And so that day just kind of inspired me to want to really just start listening. And so the following year, I started getting into hip hop, and it just kind of just took off from there. Because one, I really liked poetry.
Mhm.
And I liked a lot of the messages that were being displayed in a lot of the music that came out at that time. And I was just really into it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just felt like it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to share um, my thoughts with the world the same way all of these other MCs wanted to share their thoughts. And back then, you could actually share your thoughts, and it wouldn't be, like everyone's trying to do what everyone else is trying to do. It's like there was actually a message in the music. And you can't really say that a whole lot today unless you go underground with it. The mainstream, I don't know what they've done, but it's just not the same as it was when hip hop really started taking off, like from about 86, 87.
Yeah, it seems like nowadays, like especially well with mainstream, it's all regurgitated. Like what's being said is all regurgitated. It's like everybody's saying the same thing because what this person is saying, it seems to have like some sort of an agenda, which is why like underground hip hop is what I listen to. With the exception of artists maybe like J. Cole, some of his music, but yeah, so because you went to Lincoln High School, right?
That's right. 93 Tigers
Yeah,
all day
Tigers,
long.
class of '09, yeah. So
Okay. That's what's up.
yeah. So did you get involved in music there? Because I know they had a choir there too, but and I was a part of the choir when I went there from '08 to '09, but did
You
you
part of the
MC
Marine F. Bailey concert choir.
concert choir? You did concert
Oh
choir?
my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Oh,
But
you.
but every assembly, it always felt like going to church because that choir was just amazing. And I think it was a video that I saw a couple of days ago on Facebook. Um, Charisma Evans. Now she was a member of the Maureen F. Bailey Concert Choir, and she's like stratosphere now. I know she's been doing a lot of concerts and stuff at different churches and stuff like that, and her voice is just amazing.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of other amazing talent that's come from not only the choir, but just from Lincoln itself.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. So that brings me back to my next question. That you came out during a time in the music industry during the 90s, when major labels, where if you wanted to be, a certain artist of a certain um stature, I guess I should say, if you wanted to reach a certain level of success, you had to be signed to a label. Like compared to now, what was that like, and what challenges did you face, or how did you overcome that?
Uh, a lot of it is a learning experience because I tell folks now I've gone through 10 different managers since 1994. And like the first manager that I had, it was like, you know how when you go in something and you really don't know, the ins and outs of the business and you're looking at them for guidance on different things. And so when this manager, I came in contact with them, and my grandmother actually was friends with them. And she had a whole lot of knowledge of stuff that was going on in the industry, a whole lot of connections. And I tell this story all the time too. She took us all the way to Minneapolis
Mhm.
to one, get our demos and stuff together and get the demos in the hands of some people that actually can do something with it. Um, she tried to get us in front of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. That was cool. Okay. We got a chance to tour their studio, look at all of these different things and see all these different things. But then you find out about the business aspect of things.
Mhm.
So, night before we went to Minneapolis, she says, let's go in the studio, a big full scale recording studio, and let's redo your demo work so we'll have something to present to Jam and Lewis when we get up there. I said, okay, cool. We go in the studio, I record my piece. The person that was collaborating with me on that piece, he recorded his piece. The producer did his piece. Everything was cool, right? So we get to Minneapolis. Tell me why this manager hadn't even paid for the studio session.
He didn't pay for the
So
studio session.
he didn't pay for the studio session. So all of my music is still in Dallas. Luckily, I brought my demo version. Like it didn't really sound all that great, but it was like kind of like a test recording in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, I brought that with me. So I had that with me when we got up there. And they made copies of what I had and presented it to them.
Who made copies?
The, my manager at the time, she presented them with a terrible sounding copy of what was supposed to be my demo and put that in the package.
And she played that for Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Now, wait.
Sure it is.
Okay, let me put this water down. Okay, so I'll get to that later. Okay, so she did she did a copy of all of your original music and played that. Now,
The song.
was your
Mhm.
voice on these, or was someone else's voice on
Yeah,
there?
yes, it was mine. It's just the copy that was presented was of poor quality, so it didn't sound great. That was the reason why we went into the studio to redo it to get a better sounding copy.
So what happened after that? Like, what was the outcome of that?
Okay, so the outcome of it was, we still got a chance to meet with Jam and Lewis. We met some members of Sounds of Blackness because I think they had something was going on when we went up there. Um, we went to one of the radio stations up there. I think it was KMOJ, one of the big stations they have out in Minneapolis. So
Mhm.
we went there. We visited Glam Slam. That's one of Prince's clubs. We went
Mhm.
visited that. So to me, it almost felt like it was more of a vacation than a business trip. And for me, I'm like, I'm looking at this manager like, okay, you're telling me all of these things, like we're supposed to be doing these things and learning these things. about the business, but you don't have your stuff together in a sense,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
And so we're on our way back because she had other groups. It was a bunch of us that went up there. It was uh like close to 18 of us, right?
Wow.
And she had several other groups that she was managing. So we all went up there with the expectation of, oh, we're gonna meet with Jam and Lewis and we're gonna do all of these things and we're gonna come back with deals and all of this. So we get there and probably a day, maybe a day and a half into the trip, a lot of the other groups started getting into it with each other. So by the time we got back to Dallas, nobody wanted to do no music.
And
And
you
she
were the
had no
only
group.
one,
Mhm.
you were the only one who still wanted to do music. So at that time so when y'all came back to Dallas, was she still managing you, or was there like a certain time and period?
No, when we got back to Dallas, that was it. That
Nothing
was
came
it.
out of
I
that.
can nothing. Like I had been affiliated with her for like 3 or 4 months. Like right out of because I had done like a semester of college. And so I met her like right after that semester of college ended and was out for the summer. So we probably did like 3 or 4 months worth of work. I had done, I had met her producer that she had on hand and, just doing various shows around town. And like, think about this. I did a show at a hair salon.
After Minneapolis.
No, this was before Minneapolis. I
Okay, you
did
did
a
a
show
show.
at a
Okay.
hair salon. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was just like a fashion show. And this is me just trying to figure, okay, is this really the environment for me to be in as far as, I want to do hip hop, but you have me at this hair salon doing doing hip hop in front of people that wouldn't normally listen to hip hop. So for me, the learning experience with this was like, okay, I need to be put in positions where what I do as far as a hip hop artist is actually going to fit the crowd that's there. That was one of the venues that I felt like didn't really fit me. So I think she was trying to find something that really fit me, but because she dealt more with R&B artists, and I was like maybe her first hip hop artist, she couldn't really find anything really for me to really fit in.
Mm,
So yeah, the learning experience was find someone that actually can help benefit what you do. And I don't think she was that person. So when
mm.
we get back from Minneapolis, and like it was a struggle for us to get back. If I didn't have money that night, we were gonna have some problems getting back home. We were gonna have some problems getting back home. And so luckily we were able to make it. And after she dropped off my luggage, I haven't heard from her anymore since.
Wow.
And that
Yes,
was that
that's,
was that was September 1994.
and you were fresh out of high school. So you were about 18,
Yeah, I
19,
was I was 19.
19. Yeah.
Had just turned 19.
And that's the thing about a lot of managers, and I've dealt with this too. Like, the first manager I had, he wanted me to be like Lecrae, where he was like, okay, you're gonna do secular, and then we're gonna pivot over. No, no, he said you're gonna do contemporary gospel and then pivot to secular music. And I was like, that feels kind of scamish to me, because it's like I'm only doing Christian because it's easier to get a fan base when you're performing at churches and Christian festivals. Then you pivot over. So he wanted me to be like Lecrae, and that's what Lecrae did. And then I had
Okay.
another manager not too long ago, I think I told you about, during the pandemic, where he wanted me to perform at these like strip clubs and these dingy clubs. I'm like, do you not know the kind of artist I am, what I sing about, my message, my image? Like that's not me. I'm
It
R&B.
doesn't.
So a lot of managers, they just put you out there. They're not, I think, I feel like a manager who just puts you in a venue that's not really your thing or your style, or not your thing, but like that manager there puts you in a hair salon, well, you know, people getting their hair done aren't going to listen to hip hop and R hip hop music, rap music. They're going to want to listen to, you know, R&B. And
Exactly.
you know, that's just something that's kind of common sense. And I feel like when artists do that, they're not caring about, when managers do that, they're not caring about their artists in a way that they
Yeah.
should.
Yeah. And I had a friend, back in the day, DJ Rodney, he always used to tell me, you don't have to be a part of every single event just because someone's throwing an event.
Mhm.
If you do hip hop and someone's throwing an event and it's mostly R&B, and you get up there, you're gonna look like the sore thumb.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit, why are you there?
Yeah.
You don't have to be on it and be on the mic just because someone's throwing an event. Just go support the event if that's what if you feel like this event needs to be supported, just go be supportive. You don't always have to have the mic.
That's very true. That's very true. Wow.
And
And
so I tell folks, a lot of folks they'll be like, well, why aren't you at this show? Why aren't you at that show? I don't have to be at these shows.
you don't have to be everywhere just because there's an event. My mom told me that. She said some years ago, you don't always have to say yes to an event just because they're having it. Learn to say
Yeah.
no sometimes. Like learn to say no sometimes. You don't always have to be there performing. You can be there to go and support, but you don't always have to be there performing. And
Mhm.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a story. Let's talk about your label. I love how you wore your shirt for today's interview.
Yeah. I gotta represent. I gotta get new shirts made too.
Yeah, and I need a shirt too. Um,
Gotcha.
your label name, how did you come up with that? You know, what was the inspiration behind it, and what made you take that huge step in your career from artist to now business owner?
Okay. So M4G Entertainment, well, it stands for Music for Grown Folks, but there's a backstory behind it. Of course, there's a backstory on everything, right? Okay. So I had a label when I first branched out onto my on my own, right? I was working with a group of a collective called 38 Brothers Productive Records.
Mhm.
And I was producing for two folks. Um, and at the time, they were trying to bring me in with their organization as, one as artist and two as a producer. So
Mhm.
I did the work for them to get their music recorded. And then once I started learning how to um, basically do distribution in a sense, I said, you know what, let me just branch out and do my own thing. So in 2000, I created Ironics Entertainment, and I did all of the albums that I've done so far. I did like 7 albums on that label. All of the production was mine. So if you hear any of the first 7 albums, I did all of the production. And
Wow,
so
that's impressive.
around thanks around about 2009, I started getting other folks involved. Now, my cousin Robot Millennium. Now we've been together since, oh good gosh, I met him in college. That was 94. And if he didn't do beats, I did the beats. If I didn't do the beats, he did the beats. And so we just kind of played off of each other as far as, who did what. And, it's almost kind of like, we're, this dynamic duo in a sense.
Mhm.
And so 2008, I said, let me go ahead and start trying to incorporate some other, well, actually 2007, I'll take that back, 2007. Let's start incorporating some other artists and other producers on some of the work so I'm not fronting all of the work by myself.
Mhm.
And so I started using, a couple of his beats here and there. Um, then the next project, I started using someone else, and, just learning, who else does stuff in the area. That's the thing about becoming an artist. It's a learning experience about who does what, and who you build a rapport with, and who actually can, you know, who actually would want to work with you.
Mhm.
you know. Um, and so come into 2009, I started working with not only Robot, now I'm working with a female producer.
Mhm.
Then I got another producer that's in Connecticut. He's doing beats. He sent me something. So now I'm doing all of these things, and it's just you having to grow up now and learn, how other producers operate and how your sound is going to differ from stuff that you're working on for yourself.
Mhm.
Um, Now, Robot, he was already doing stuff under Grown Folk Universal.
Mhm.
And he doesn't know this, and I have yet to tell him this, but M4G Entertainment, with it being music for grown folks, and he's doing Grown Folk Universal, I kind of took grown folk, the name grown folks, and kind of incorporated that into M4G Entertainment. And now he is one of the resident producers for the team.
And he doesn't know
So
that.
if he sees his interview, he's gonna know.
Yeah, he'll know.
Exactly. And so, just being able to put together different projects with, you know, a blend of my production with other people's production and then putting everything together.
Mhm.
Um, I said, let's do something different with the label because it was like right around 2009, right? I had just gotten off of a major interview with Channel 21. I had just put out a new album February of that year. Then later that year, my mom passed, and I started seeing a difference in how people were like treating me as far as, okay, yeah, you're dealing with something, we're gonna kind of step back in a sense. I don't know why people did that, but they did it.
Mhm.
And so I did a two-part series album called Life Changing. And one, because a lot that was the thing. A lot of folks were saying, "Well, we hear you doing a lot of stuff that's R&B. You should do a full-scale R&B album." Okay, I do the two-part project. One part of it's all singing, the other part's all hip hop. Right? The album went nowhere. The series went nowhere. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me not have this negative energy surrounding this label. So January 13th, 2012, I moved on from Ironics Entertainment and switched it to Music for Grown Folks. So it's like, let's take things to the next level and make folks see, hey, we're trying to do something that no one in this city is doing and do something totally different because everyone wants to, they want to do cookie cutter type things. I don't want to do cookie cutter. I want to do something different and I want to keep the message that we're trying to convey to people. I want to keep that message out there. I want to keep the hip hop message alive. That's been my biggest thing this whole time. Keep the hip hop as we saw it alive.
Mhm. Wow.
And
So
it's been something else with making sure that folks see this name,
yeah.
really trying to keep it out there.
Yeah, and that's important. Like, I was just thinking, you said you started M4G, I think as of January 13th, 2012.
That's right.
And so M4G Entertainment just turned 12
12,
years
12 years.
just this
Yes.
past January, just last month.
Mhm.
How does that feel knowing that this label that you started 12 years ago is still as strong as ever and you're still going forward with that? Like how does that feel reaching that milestone?
Longevity is really important because it shows folks that you're not doing this for gimmick and that you're serious about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to push to the masses. Um, we didn't we have always had this thing of um, for us it's not about the money,
Mhm.
but it's more about those that actually want to do something with their talent. We want to be able to help them. And this label, that's why I always say this is more a mentoring service than a label, because we're interested in helping whoever wants to help.
Mhm.
You know, if
That's
you
yeah.
need, and that was the thing about, you know, the whole experience with all these different managers. You know, if someone comes in the studio and they're like, okay, we want to do this, okay, well, let's give you this history lesson first as to why we're in this space. And
Mhm.
so if anyone else goes, like if any artist comes in the studio and, you know, they want to do something here and they get that history lesson, if they don't sign with us, they have that knowledge. So then
Mhm.
they go out there and they go in someone else's studio, they know what to look for. Why? They've touched the controls. They know what to listen for when they're listening back, when they're getting that playback and they hear it in their ear, they know what to listen for. They know how to handle mixing and mastering because we're showing them what to do.
Mhm.
They know what to do when they're getting ready to put out a project and they go into put in the distribution. They, you know, learn how to do distribution. We're showing them what to do,
Mhm.
or we're giving them just suggestions on, hey, you might want to deal with this person here or this person here because they have this skill set that may be able to better benefit you.
Mhm.
You know, it's all about, um, if you say you want to do this, let's see what we can do to help you.
Mhm.
Because not only is it helping you, but it's also a learning experience for us. Okay, are we making sure that we're giving you the correct information?
Right. Mhm. You told me about an instance where someone wanted to change your stage name from Original Soul. Now, you and I both have that in common because in New York, I had an A&R who wanted to change my name, but I don't know where that came from. But yeah, tell me about that.
Okay, so about 2004 or 5,
Mhm.
I had done a show somewhere and DOC was in the audience apparently, and he heard me and he liked me. And he was doing something where I think he was getting ready to put out some new music and he was looking for different people to collaborate with. And we went to this place. I can't remember where the place was or who his people were. I've slept a lot of days since then.
Mhm.
Um, and I went and I auditioned for them. A lot of other folks auditioned as well.
Mhm.
And a lot of it was some guy that he was affiliated with. And for me, I always bring anytime I come in contact with someone that I don't know, I always bring my stuff with me. You know, I bring merch. If I have merch, I bring, contact info and all the things that I work with. Um, and at the time, I had a whole portfolio of things because I was keeping a timeline of everything that I've done from day one up until now. I kind of veered off from doing that, but at the time I was keeping a whole timeline of everything that I've done, shows that I've done, people I've worked with, and all of the projects that I've done, right? And so I showed this guy the whole portfolio, and he looks at it and he takes out a pen and he sees all of the people that I worked with, all of the projects that I did, and all of the shows that I had done up until the point that I met him. He took a pen and he crossed out every single thing on that page. Just crossed
It's
it all the way
your
out.
own portfolio that you created.
Crossed everything out. He was like, none of this is relevant to your now. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, everything that I've ever done and anyone that I've ever worked with is a part of my history. So it's important to me, even if it's not important to you. And then he goes on to say that he doesn't feel like the name Original Soul would sell. I'm thinking two different things. One, I'm thinking about what my late uncle told me, that the name Original Soul is a derivative of the Soul Stirrers from 1926. See, I had a relative that sang with the Soul Stirrers and sang with Sam Cooke, and they toured and did all of these different things. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking, okay, if my uncle says you're a part of the original Soul Stirrers from back then, I'm going to use this name because I feel like this is me carrying on their legacy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so that's one thing. Two, I look at the awards that I have. I'm a four-time Best of Black Dallas Award winner. I'm a three-time Villa Cooler Radio Award winner. I'm a two-time Wild Out Radio Award winner,
Mhm.
Underground Legend Award. And I'm thinking, okay, you're telling me I'm not going to sell? Matter of fact, if I think about it, in 2005, I had an album that came out that was nominated for Album of the Year. What was the name of that? Uh, I can't think of the name of the radio station, but the album that I put out that year, they nominated it for Album of the Year. So I'm thinking, okay, you're telling me that my name isn't going to do anything? Okay, seems to be doing pretty well to me.
I mean, who was this guy? Like, he wasn't was he like a manager, a producer?
I think he was either a manager or an A&R. I can't recall. All I know is he was there with DOC.
I mean, it
Made
sounded
no
like he
made no
wanted
difference in what I
to.
had going on.
It sounded like to me he wanted to just change your entire image, sound, erase your history, all that, and turn you into something that you're not.
Yeah,
It's a tale as old as
that was
time.
that was his intention. Was
Yeah.
like he would, and see that's the other thing that I learned about labels because I think yeah there was a couple instances actually. Um, I had a deal with Universal. Universal wanted to sign me as a producer for another artist that I was producing. Management messed that up. Fast forward to about maybe a year or 2 years ago, Sony wants to do the same thing. They want to take me and have me do all of these things for like 2 or 3 years. I can't use my label. I can't sell anything that I've already done. And they want control of everything else. And so for me, I used to want to be on a major label because I thought, okay, yeah, if I'm on a label, then I've arrived.
Mhm.
And that isn't necessarily the case. If you know what you're doing and you know how to put out your own music, you can do it yourself without having to deal with all of the label stuff. Because what we're seeing today is a lot of these labels are taking these artists and changing them into something they're not. And you can't just take everything that I've built and worked so hard for and turn me into something that I'm not just to make a buck. That's not gonna translate. Because the audience that we try to reach, they're gonna know when it's not genuine. They're gonna know.
Yeah. So how did that feel when, I mean, you had those opportunities with Universal and Sony. Like how did that feel in that moment? Like, were you disappointed? I'm sure it had to be disappointment.
Well, with the one with Universal, it was because the work that we did with the artists, it was actually gonna, it was gonna be like it was gonna be major. It was out. They were like, it was an $8.5 million contract, and the management just totally screwed that up. It was done, and so um, then you fast forward to the one with Sony, and at that time I was like, you know what? I already had the knowledge. I have the knowledge now. I'm totally not with this.
Yeah. So you already knew, like from Universal, you already knew that from the previous experience.
Yeah.
What was your creative process for your upcoming album, I'm Coming for Everybody? Like, what inspires you to write and produce this record?
Oh man. This album was actually going to be music therapy too.
You told me that, yeah.
I was going to do music therapy too. And one day I just was thinking, okay, um, something happened, and I can't recall really what it was that really happened, but I was just like, I need the name of this project to have that oomph,
Mhm.
that one thing that make people say, okay, you're coming for me. What are you coming for me for? And with every project that I do, there's a message behind each thing that I do. There's going to be a message. Each album is going to have a theme.
Yeah.
And so this theme, I'm coming for everybody. I want folks to grasp what I'm trying to say,
Mhm.
because there's things that's going on in this world that they need to be aware of.
Mhm.
There's things that's on my heart that I need to express to them about how I'm feeling about certain things. And I feel like the name of that album was really going to give that push that
Mhm.
says, hey, yeah, this is it.
Right, right. Um, and I'll listen to the album in full, when you send it to me. Think I think it was at the end of 2023, you were sending me a song here and a song there, but you sent me the full album in January. And there was one song on there. Well, there was so many other songs on there that I really loved. But there was one song that I wanted to ask you about, and Every Day is a Blessing. In the
Mhm.
chorus, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I misquoted the lyrics, I don't mean to. It says, every day is a blessing. If you feel the same way, learn the lesson, thinking of the way you've been stressing, because what you gonna do when your life is a question?
Mhm.
Dang, like that last line, what are you gonna do when your life is a question? And that reminded me of Judgment Day. Like, what are you gonna do when you're standing before God and he's asking you about your life? Like all this
Mhm.
other stuff doesn't matter, but when you stand at the seat of judgment, before the seat of judgment, and your life is in question, what are you gonna do? And that just reminded me of that. So what was the inspiration behind that song?
You see a lot of folks that will make posts online. A lot of stuff on social media is like really negative. Like if someone's having a bad day, and I always put myself in this too. If someone's having a bad day, they find that one thing that's bad about that day, and they dwell on it for so long, and because they want that audience to be like, "Yeah, I feel you," in a sense. But then you never see or you never find the blessing in that. Every if something bad happens, find the blessing. That was my whole thing about it. Like you got something that's going on that you really didn't want it to happen, that you didn't want that to happen to you. Find the blessing in it.
Mhm.
There's got to be a blessing in something that makes you want to change your mindset. And if you don't find that, then that one thing that keeps eating at you is going to keep eating at you until you have to find a way to, in a sense, be able to overcome the obstacle.
Mhm.
If you can't overcome it, then it's gonna like something that Ricky Smiley used to say a lot of times. Um, God gives you just a little bit just to see what you're gonna do with it, and if something bad happens, how do you deal with it? How do you turn that bad situation into a good situation?
Yeah.
If you don't turn that bad into a good situation, then you're gonna get more bad. But if
Mhm.
you turn it into something good, you'll get more good out of it. So every day it's a blessing. So you have to try to find the blessing even in the bad things.
Right.
And so I just kept saying, all these people is dealing with all these different things. Find the blessing in it. Even with the, you keep seeing a lot of these Amber Alerts that keep coming through. Find the blessing in it. We may get them at like we'll get an Amber Alert at 3 o'clock in the morning. Somebody's looking for their child. Find the blessing in it. Someone's actually trying to help find this person's child. There's a
Yeah.
blessing in somebody that's wanting to try to help find this person's child. And
That
then if the,
takes
if the situation comes out to be a good situation, then okay, we found a blessing.
that takes a lot of mental training to do, because, you know, like I was telling someone the other day, like the world, we tend to focus on the negative first. Like we always tend to go there.
Mhm,
No matter what. We never look at the good. We're always looking for the negative.
mhm,
So that takes some mental training to do
mhm.
a lot. It might take years depending on some people. Um, I would say that I'm getting there because it's so easy, like you said, to focus on the negative.
Yeah,
So
and
wow.
it'll quickly spiral. That's the thing about social media. It'll so just it goes so fast. You see how people are going in on Jermaine Dupri because of the outfit that he wore at the Super Bowl, and now you see it snowballs, and he's trying to tell y'all, hey, this was like this because of this.
Yeah.
Find the blessing.
Yeah. Just like with Alicia Keys, like, you know, you saw my post, and then I'm not sure if you saw my reaction video that I did on my channel about that, but I mean, you know, everyone was just focusing on the negative. Like Alicia Keys is her first note, how it cracked. Like no one else focused on anything else. But so like, yeah, but like the world, they tend to focus on the negative. There could have been a million reasons why, and I talked about this in our reaction video. There could have been a million reasons why maybe she was off, or maybe her voice cracked. It could have been a lot of things that the general public may or may not be aware of. So like you said,
And just
every
like
day is a blessing.
yeah, just like if her voice cracked, okay, did you enjoy the show? Did she not look good?
Yeah, like
Did you
what, her
have
outfit.
did you have fun when you went there? Did you not see somebody else that you liked? Did your team win? Find the blessing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, that's wild. Like that, I think the world needs more of that, and I'm looking forward to this album dropping. I'm looking forward to how the world perceives it. I know it was a blessing to me when I was listening to it, so thank you for
Look,
sharing that with me.
thank thank you so much for being one of the people to go and listen to it because you took your time out to listen to each one of these songs and give your critique of how these songs will actually work with the other songs. So I appreciate you taking that time. I maybe had like maybe 4 or 5 other folks listening to it, to give their critique of it all. And, artists need that. They need someone to say, hey, this works, or did you intend to do this? Or, you need those other ears to be able to play off of it to, find out if everything is going to be everything before you put something out.
I agree. I agree. You definitely don't want to be around yes man people, because that'll just that goes nowhere. You know, having
Yeah.
people who tells you, you know, who's gonna tell you the truth in love, of course. You need those people around, and not just people who are just gonna be rude and mean about the truth, because there's a difference, you know, I always say. And going into that, that's crazy how that last part goes into this next question. How do you handle negative feedback or criticism?
Um, Old me probably would have been somewhere like, okay, I'm done. Mature me is more like, okay, let me use this information that they gave me and reevaluate what I did, and then make the next projects better based off of their feedback. See,
Mm,
there's a lot of folks they'll say these things about these review shows, and when other folks are going in and they're reviewing the music and it's not the review that the artists were actually looking for, but it's actually the review that they need. And so for me, I use that information as how can I make myself better?
mhm,
And so even with this project, this was one of those where I had to look at it and be like, okay, the information that they said on this review show, let me take some of that knowledge and put it into this next project.
mhm,
And I'm starting to use those critiques as, okay, this is what I need to be doing because of what these folks said, as, as a suggestion. You don't necessarily have to use their suggestions verbatim,
Yeah.
but just take it and have it in, in the back of your head, like, okay, they said this because of this. How can I improve on the model?
Mm.
And then just go forward.
How do you handle the difference between constructive criticism and just blatant, mean-spirited criticism? Because there's a difference,
Yeah.
there's a difference. There was um, this movie director that I used to really just be a fan of his work over there in the UK, and he did a movie in 2010, and it got horrible reviews, but his previous movies were good, and everything like that. And he made a statement that stuck with me still to this day. He said, if you're gonna talk down on my work, at least tell me what I did wrong so I can do better. But with you just talking down on my work, that doesn't get me anywhere. So how do you differentiate the two, and how do you handle just mean-spirited criticism?
Look at their resume.
Yeah.
Basically, look at their resume. What are they doing that is telling me that they're qualified to tell me what I'm not doing right?
Yeah.
If they're looking to only nitpick the bad things and never say anything good,
Mhm.
okay, then you're just trying to find something to be mad about. No one has time for that. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing,
Mhm.
and the people that are critiquing this stuff, they're gonna critique it based off of how they feel. But you know how many other people there are in this world?
It's like,
Other people are gonna find something that they like about what you do.
yeah.
You like this. There's 18 tracks on this next album. You're gonna have 3 folks that will like 4 or 5 of the songs on there, but you'll have 2 folks that may like that's gonna find one thing on that album that they don't like,
Mhm.
and they're gonna go and they're gonna tell somebody else what they don't like. But those folks are gonna make their own decision on what they don't like, and they may find something that they do.
Mhm.
So these people that are trying to be nitpicky, who are they to judge?
What
Who are
my
they to
husband
judge?
always says, because I got negative criticism last year. And whenever me and my husband are talking about opinions of others, he always says, you can't listen to the average person out here.
Yeah,
You can't.
yeah.
You
That's what I'm
can't.
saying. What qualifies them to say, what should be right or what should be wrong? Have they gone in the studio and actually done any of this work? I had somebody that went on one of the review shows and they were like, "Oh, it sounds like he's reading," and I'm like, "Are you in the studio to be able to tell if that's the case?"
Do you have a
And
label?
right, uh,
Do you? I know I'm asking to that
yeah,
person, like, do you
yeah,
have a label? Have you been nominated for album of the year? And no,
yeah,
people.
yeah. They'll find something wrong just to get other folks on their side. See, that's the other thing that I was really kind of just like, y'all will wait on somebody to say one bad thing before everyone else jumps in and says and wants to agree with that bad thing. What do you think?
That was one of your unpopular posts opinion one time, where people will say all these negative things. No one will all these people will say these negative things until they find one person saying the positive thing, then they'll jump on that bandwagon.
Right, right.
I never
Can't
like
stand, can't stand folks like that.
like with the Alicia Keys thing, like they just it was they just went in on her, and I didn't like that, because I mean, for one,
Yeah,
Alicia Keys, she inspired me to play the piano, I mean, and so it's just like, I grew up, her music raised me, along with
right,
others, her music predominantly raised me. And so
right,
I'm trying to see other things about her performance that was good, like the piano, her outfit, her playing the piano just perfectly, like not getting, I mean, but people, like you said, they always look for the negative thing. Like no matter what you do, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with some people. Yeah.
and those people can kick rocks.
Kick rocks with open toe socks.
And
What's
then
the most
step on a Lego.
what's the most valuable lesson you learned during this musical journey of yours?
Uh, Stay focused on your purpose.
What is your
If,
purpose?
if this is something that you set out to do and you want, there's a message that you want to put out there, just stay focused on that, on putting that message out. Don't let anything stop you.
And what is your
We
purpose?
a lot of times we a lot of times we let a lot of little things stop us, especially seeing stuff on social media and folks saying whatever they're going to say. We want that tends to stop us from doing what we set out to do, and
Mm,
we can't let it do that. I My goal is to make sure that I'm putting the message out there for the people, and put the message out there the way that I see fit, and not what someone else perceives that they want me to put out. Like, I'm going to put out the message that I want to put out. If you don't like it, that's all about you.
yeah.
You know, I'm going to do me.
And would you say that's your purpose in life?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I really think it is. That's why that's why all these awards on the wall. The people that really appreciate good music, they flock to you,
They do.
and those that really want to find something bad about what you do, they secretly like it. They just won't tell you.
Mm,
That was another thing that I really hate. A lot of times with a lot of the fans, they'd be like, "Man, I've always supported you. I don't say nothing a lot of times." Well, why?
yeah.
What's the point in telling me that you support me, but you're not telling anyone? That isn't helping me grow. But at the same time, I can't worry about those people because there's several other people out there that would actually benefit from what I'm doing, and they need to get a good show.
Right. Wow. What feeling do you want your listeners to walk away with after listening to I'm Coming for Everybody from start to finish?
The way I put an album together, it's always gonna start off kind of raw and aggressive. But by the end of the album, I wanted to bring back like a spirit of calm, in a sense, almost like you're doing, like when you're doing yoga and you go into the namaste. I want them to kind of have that same feeling. I do all my projects like that. It's going to be hard at the beginning, soft at the end. That way you grasp a lot of the information, and then at the end of it, then you're like, what have you learned? I actually did that on one project. It's like at the end of it, it was like, what have you learned?
Mm,
So this project is no different from any of the others. You're going to get this work, and then you get to find out, what have you learned? What can you take out there in the world, and how can you apply these things that I've just expressed and take it out there into your day to day?
yeah, because I know the feeling I got from listening to this album when you sent it to me, it really made me think about life. You know, it really made me think about life. Every day is a blessing. There was another song that really made me think about life. It was the one that I was telling you about. Let me go into my phone here and see if I can find it. I can't find it right now. But it was one song on there where the introduction was where you were being interviewed. I can't remember the name of
Life
that.
talk, life talk.
Live Talk, yeah. So like this album from start to finish has really made me think about life and where I was going and the way the world is going. You know, a good album to me is an album that you can. A good album to me is where you can take away from it and apply it into your own life. That's a good album to me. Very, very few albums have done that. Um, What's Going On, Marvin Gaye, that album has done that to me, still does. Um, Several other albums by other artists have made me, and so when an album does that, that's a good album. That's a good body of work.
Yeah.
What do you want your
And,
legacy?
and this one
I'm
should be,
sorry, go
and
ahead.
this,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut
this,
you off.
and this one is going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I would surely hope so. Because I mean, anyone who has ears, let them hear. So,
Mhm. I'm talking about for you.
oh, for me, oh yeah, no, like I can't wait for the album to come out. Now, is this gonna be available to purchase physically? Like, will you have physical copies at
Oh
the?
yeah. I actually the actual the physical I have CDs that's coming. I'm thinking of doing flash drives.
Mhm.
I'm thinking of also doing flash drives, but outside of the physical copies, it will be on all streaming sites. Um, and go live is March 22nd.
I prefer to have a physical copy. I think, like, because with Gen
Got you covered.
Z, with like with Gen Z bringing back like CDs and vinyl, like it's like it's making me want CDs again. And I still love CDs, so yeah, I'll be purchasing a physical copy um,
Cool.
as well, and to support because Spotify and Apple Music. Well, we already know the story about that, but we're not going to get that. That's a whole nother podcast for.
Watching, let me give you the Cliff Notes version of it. Spotify only pays if you're doing anything on there and you get one song played on Spotify, that person has to play that song 336 times in order for you to earn $1
Yeah.
because they pay out at 3 thousandths of a cent. That's not even a whole penny, and a penny is only a cent.
Yeah.
But we still push Spotify, don't we?
I see a lot of music marketing gurus on my Insta page and YouTube pushing Spotify, and it's like, why? But again, that's another story for another time because
Yeah, yeah, we don't have all day for that.
because I can rant about that, like, and I have. Um,
I have to, and folks have called me crazy for even mentioning. I'm like, look, if you're on Spotify and you telling folks to go listen to your Spotify, you are not getting paid unless they're playing that thing on repeat for a year.
and that depends on if they have the premium account too. So there's other
Yeah.
factors that goes into that. But going into this next question, what do you want your legacy to be, and what do you want to be remembered as?
A prophet, the same person that goes in and they tell everyone about what's going on in the world. I'm carrying on that legacy. I came up from an era where the last poets were the ones that came in and they told people what was going on. I'm just carrying on that legacy. I want to keep the message out there. I want to keep the message as pure as hip hop was when hip hop first started. That's what we intend to keep it as. Everything that's going on now with all of these newer artists that's coming out here and uh, they're either mumbling or they're not saying anything that's worth anything and they're poisoning the minds of the youth. That's not going to be me. You can take the production that the newer generation is using now. You can take that production and you can say something constructive on it, and it still can get across to the people that love good music. But folks are choosing not to do that because they're listening to what these label heads are saying to go out there and push based off of whatever numbers that they're saying these artists are doing. Well, what do the artists think? It's like the labels are taking away the mindset of these artists for money, and that's wrong. How many more Sexy Reds are we gonna get? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you eventually get tired of seeing twerking. You get tired of seeing so many of these things that a lot of these young folks are they're following the example that they're being shown, and a lot of these examples aren't necessarily examples that we need to be having out there. If
Yeah.
you want to say something different, you can do that without having to degrade yourself. And there's too much of that going on out there. So I'm always going to be the one that's going to be the difference maker because I choose to do different things. I tell folks I dare to be different because you have to be. There's so much other that's already out there. Why do I want to be imitating what you're doing? All these songs that's sexually charged. I don't do songs that's that way
Yeah.
because there's so much of it already out there. The audience wants something different. So you got to give them something different. And that's going to be the direction that I choose to go in.
And that's your legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of, I watched the Grammys, bad mistake, poor decision making. I watched the Grammys and I mean, it's the same old, like, you know,
It's yeah.
it's just, I mean, everything's the same, everything's being pushed out the same. There's no creativity. Everyone is, no one has a mind anymore. I feel bad for Gen Zs. I feel bad for Gen Alpha coming up. I mean, because this is what's out there. This is the kind of music that they're being exposed to already from a young age. And so
it's gonna get what is the phrase? It's gonna get worse before
first, before it gets
before it gets
better.
better. Yeah.
Mhm.
And a lot of the artists there, you do still have some that want to try to improve things. That's why I've become a big fan of J. Cole. I
Yeah.
need to check out this Killer Mike album because if he just sat up there and won 3 Grammys, this album must be incredible.
Yeah, I
You
have to
know,
check him out. Yeah.
and then you see what Andre 3000 went did.
He did
He
something.
goes and puts a whole album with flute. If that's the epitome of daring to be different,
Yeah.
right there. And apparently Lil Jon's about to do something the same in that same vein.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, he is. Yeah. You have to be different in a world where everything is cookie cut, black and white, you know. Um getting
And
in
you get tired of hearing and seeing the same thing all the time. I mean, that's why folks don't really like watching the Grammys anymore. It's become you don't even know who's winning any awards because now it's become more about, oh, well, such and such is going to be there and they're going to perform. Okay. And
it's
all of the
a
songs in
popularity
hip hop is like,
contest.
what about some of all of the other artists and other genres that's involved now? It's not fun to watch these things. The BET Awards, the MTV Awards. They don't even show videos on MTV.
They don't. They stopped doing that like a long time ago.
So why call it MTV?
Call it something else. Or don't call it MTV at all. Like just get rid of the whole thing. Just throw the whole thing away. Because it's not what it used to
Yeah,
be. Nothing is what it used to be anymore, but MTV
yeah,
is not what it used to be.
yeah. But you see where I'm going with it. It's like if you're going to be a difference maker, then you have to do something different. Do what you say you set out to do.
Yeah. Getting into the last question, where can people find your album? I mean, I know we just talked about that already.
Mhm.
And where can they get in touch with you for collaborations or bookings, maybe?
I tell everyone go to www.originalsoulonline.com. That's my website. All of my contact information is there. Social media stuff is there. Um, Links to my music are there. I'm starting to put the links to some of my previous videos on there. I tell folks to go on there because that site is very expensive. Um, uh,
I feel that. I feel
I'm playing, but it's a labor of love to go ahead and put something like that together. And we still have to push these different avenues. I know a lot of us have all the different social media places that we go to, but it also looks a bit more professional to go ahead and have a website that is completely dedicated to what you do. You know,
Absolutely.
we can do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I have all of those. You can go to the website and go to those links from there. You know, you can go there and hear my music.
Mhm.
So let's do that. You know, and the new album is going to be there. We're getting. I'm going to get new merch put together. That'll be on there. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be putting down the links in the description to our viewers down below. Your website, I'm gonna put that first because, like you said, I mean, that is important. I feel like a lot of artists nowadays have gotten away from having a website. It's like all we have now is just TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and maybe a YouTube page or whatever. But I think we still need to set the standard to having a website. But I will put that in there, all the links down below. And I
And if
mean,
they
yeah,
and if they want to go to if they're still using those, then they can go to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Original Soul M4G. They can find me there.
okay. Well, yeah. Well, as you have it, you heard the man say where you can find him for bookings. And like, is there a link that where people can contact you directly on your website, like a contact me page on there?
Yes, yes. I had to make sure that was there. That was kind of hard to put together, but it's there.
Okay, good. So people can reach out to you, book you for shows in the future, and get that going. I mean, yeah. So thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate you for just taking the time out of your schedule today on a Saturday, and allow me to interview you and talk about your journey, your past, like how you started to where you are now. I think you have an incredible journey, and I'm excited for what God has for you after this album is released. Follow him on all things social media. Subscribe. Do you have a subscription page on your website as well?
Yes.
You do? Okay. Well, people can subscribe to your email notifications probably if you have that set up.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening, stopping by. We'll be back with another episode.